You've spelunked into the Matt Cave. Hello, everybody, and welcome into another episode of the Matt Cave. Thank you all so much for spelunking on by. This week it is the final college football preview before the 2025 season officially kicks off. I know we had week 0. We had Farmageddon in Ireland for some reason. That took a lot of the sting out of the game. It was not as much fun to watch as it would have been were in Iowa or Kansas, but hey, you know what? Here we are. So, week 1 will be this week. BYU will be kicking off against Portland State, Utah against UCLA, and Utah State against somebody. So they'll be kicking off this week as well. So it's very exciting. There will be something for me to talk about each and every week. The episodes will be chock full of stuff. I won't be able to ramble quite as much, which is probably good news for you all. But hey, thank you all so much for being here. As always, if you could like, comment, subscribe, wherever it is, however you listen, I appreciate it a bunch. You all have done so much for me already, and I appreciate each and every one of you. And then my weekly challenge to you is share this show with one person that you think might enjoy the program. Just one person. I don't expect you to go out there on social media and trumpet the Matt Cave, go on to Reddit and fight people for me. No, just share it with one person that you think might enjoy the program. And that helps more than you know. All right, so that's pretty much it for the intros. You can follow me on Facebook, The Matt Cave Podcast, as well as on Instagram, The Matt Cave Podcast. And I've been dabbling with the idea of getting either back onto X or onto TikTok, whatever that is. We'll see what happens as we go throughout the rest of this year, but I've been dabbling in maybe going that direction too to help increase the number of spelunkers we have here. But let's begin. All right, coming off of that out of nowhere 11-2 season, what does BYU and Kalani Sitake and crew do? Yes, his name is Kalani Sitake. So get ready to hear that all year, Cougar fans. Their ESPN's going to be calling him Sitake all year. But it's Sitake. And so what does he do for an encore? Well, he has done something that has never been done in the history of the program. He has named Bear Bachmeier a true freshman, not redshirt, not returning missionary, true freshman, Bear Bachmeier, as the starting quarterback for this BYU offense. What does that mean? Well, what that means is there's going to be a lot of mistakes, and they're going to be coming fast and furious. So get ready for that. I'm girding myself for that as well. There's going to be fumbles. There's going to be missed open receivers. There's going to be overthrown, underthrown balls, and there's going to be interceptions. That's just going to be life with a true freshman quarterback. Think Isaac Wilson for the Utes, only with better running ability, is really what to look forward to here with a true freshman starting in a Power 4 conference. Now, I'm not saying he's going to be as bad as Isaac Wilson. I'm not going to say the BYU offense as a whole is going to struggle like Utah's offense did last year, because that was a totally different situation. It was an offense curated for somebody else. This offense is curated for Bear Bachmeier, and the entire team knows who the quarterback is going to be. It's not going to be an injury game 2 of the season, and then all of a sudden it's this new kid who you have no idea what he can do. So that's where we start today's preview, is with the quarterback position. So, as all of you know, I was never the biggest fan of Jake Retzlaff as a quarterback. I did not think he was very good. I thought he was very lucky. But if you watch the tape, and I call it tape, but they don't use tape anymore. If you watch the videos, even his highlight videos, his footwork in the pocket was terrible. He was short, which, I mean, that's not his fault. His height is his height. But for a quarterback that runs the RPO offense that, Aaron Roderick likes to run, you got to be taller. You just do, to be able to see those quick routes, to see those ins where you pull it out of your running back's gut and you throw it to that slant that's wide open. You got to be a little bit taller. And Bear Bachmeier fits the bill. He's about 6'2", 6'3". So he'll be able to see those a lot better than Jake Retzlaff, who was generously listed as 6 foot. I think he was closer to 5'11", 5'10". The other thing that really frustrated me with Jake Retzlaff is he never let the play develop. And so if his first read and a half weren't there, he already started to tuck the ball, look around, and start to panic way too often. So that's something that I think Aaron Roderick needs to do a better job of coaching the quarterback, is just to be a titch more patient, because his offensive line is better than he thinks it is. And this offensive line, while it doesn't have a ton of starts, they're all upperclassmen. So they're not going to be outsized by anybody. And a lot of the guys are coming from other programs, like at the guard position, Andrew Gentry. He's going to start at right tackle. He may move into guard depending on how the season goes, but he's from Michigan. He played in 23 games. He played in 23 games. He only started 2 of them, but he played in that many games for a big-time program. And then you have Isaiah Jada, who started towards the end of the year and was very, very solid. He came from Colorado, and he is a very solid offensive lineman. Then you have Waylon Lapuaho, and at the center position, we've got Bruce Mitchell, who played a lot of games last year because Connor Pay couldn't stay healthy. So this offensive line is a lot better than people think. It's not going to be terrible, but it's not going to be Utah's. Utah's offense is elite. That's going to be best in the country. BYU's is going to be solid. So Bear Bachmeier is going to have a better time of it standing behind that offensive line. Now, something else to look forward to with Bear Bachmeier is he's going to be able to break a lot of tackles. He's going to surprise a lot of people. He's built more like Taysom Hill, and that is a very exciting sentence to say. I'm not going to say he's going to be as good as Taysom Hill because nobody knows. But Taysom Hill and Bear Bachmeier share a lot of the same traits, and the first one being they both transferred from Stanford, which is just a funny coincidence. But Bear Bachmeier, I think, he's going to be a really solid quarterback. Obviously, we don't know. There's no film. Again, film, tape. I'm very old school. There's no videos. There's no recording of him in a college football stadium playing college football. But from all of the reviews at camp, playing against the ones on the practice field, even when he was with the second-string offense, he was really good. He didn't turn the ball over. They didn't score much, the BYU offense, against the BYU defense, but BYU's defense is bordering on the elite. So the quarterback position, especially at BYU, is always going to be under a microscope. And Bear Bachmeier, I think, is going to be able to live up to the task. And it really helps that he has the receiving core that he has. So obviously, we all know about Chase Roberts. He turned down a chance at the NFL to come back for one more ride. Not necessarily the quarterback situation he was expecting, but it's the one he has. And he is Sunday level. He can play on Sunday. He just needs to stay healthy. Last year, he dealt with a lot of nicks and bruises because he's fearless when he goes over the middle. And so hopefully he's bulked up enough to be able to take that pounding and to be able to stay on the field for an entire game and for the entire season. He's a very special wide receiver, and he makes the circus catches, but he also makes the simple catches, which is something I looked at more so than the big catches like Darius Lassiter last year for BYU. Made a lot of really cool catches, but then he dropped a lot of simple passes. So Chase Roberts is going to be the guy. Who else is going to be catching passes? Well, Bear's got his brother, Tiger, out of the slot. So Tiger Bachmeier is going to be out of the slot, catching balls from his brother. So there's already built-in chemistry there. He knows his brother's going to be where he needs him. So there's no worries there when it comes to the slot receiver. For the Y receiver, the other side, so you have your strong side receiver, weak side receiver, I think that's going to be JoJo Phillips. JoJo Phillips is a speedster, and he is going to be able to break games open. He's going to be able to take the top off of defenses, so that will be very crucial for Bear as well, where he could just throw the ball up, and he knows Chase Roberts can go get it, and he knows JoJo Phillips can outrun people to get that ball. That leaves Parker Kingston kind of as the X factor. He is an All-American punt returner. He was second-team All-American last year. He's on preseason All-America lists for punt returning this year. So I don't know how much they're going to use him on offense, but suffice it to say, they're going to use him much of the same way they have the past 2 years, where it's going to be end-arounds, it's going to be jet sweeps, and maybe some trickeration. And I hope that Bear Bachmeier can take advantage of Parker Kingston in the slot because he's very shifty too. So he's fast, he's shifty, he's just undersized. So the wide receiver room is going to be great for Bear Bachmeier. The offensive line is going to be solid, if not good. They're not going to be spectacular, but they're going to be good, which leaves the tight end room and the running back room. The tight end room has been a weakness the past couple of years for BYU, which is really weird to say, but they went and they got Carson Ryan from Utah. previously of UCLA before that. Carson Ryan, as Utah fans know, is a very solid tight end. He's going to be where he needs to be. He's going to make the grabs that need to be made. He just needs the ball thrown his way. And that was the trouble for all of the pass catchers at Utah last year, no matter who the quarterback was. So Carson Ryan is going to be a solid, if unspectacular, tight end, which is exactly what you need in a tight end in Aaron Roderick's scheme. You need a tight end who's willing to block, which Carson Ryan is, but you also need a tight end that's going to be able to leak out into the flat to be the emergency valve for his quarterback. And so that's going to be what BYU has at the tight end position, whereas last year's Keanu Hill, who, God bless him, he tried to make as many catches as he could, but they were all hospital passes from Jake Retzlaff. That's another thing that Jake Retzlaff did a lot last year, hospital passes. And if you're unfamiliar with the term, it's where you throw a ball where your receiver, if he goes to catch it, is going to get lit up. He's going to get hit, and it's going to be a big hit. And so the guy's going to go to the hospital because it was such a big hit that his quarterback let him into. Jake Retzlaff was the king of that for his wide receivers last year. So hopefully Bear Bachmeier is not that guy. He could kind of fit the ball into windows where he can protect his receivers better than Jake Retzlaff can. And then the running back room is going to be fantastic. LJ Martin, Sione Moa, Enoch Nawahine, all of those guys are going to be so solid out of the running game that I'm not worried if one of them has a nagging injury. With an asterisk, LJ Martin, if he has to miss extended period of time, the running game is going to be lesser for it. LJ Martin has bulked up every year he's been at BYU. And his goal is this year is to play every game and every down. Obviously, that's not going to happen because that's just not how Coach Satake and Coach Roderick run the offense. They like to keep their running backs fresh, and so they sub them out constantly. But that's LJ Martin's goal, and it's a very good goal to have. And I'm excited to see what he can do when he has that attitude. I'm sure he's had that attitude before, but now it's public, and he said it, and now I want to see him do it. So that's the offensive side of the ball. It's going to be a solid, if unspectacular, offense this year, which is very depressing to say as a BYU fan because I like the days of the Max Hall, John Beck, even Taysom Hill, Tanner Mangum, fling the ball all over the yard, 500 passing yards, 400 passing yards a game, 3 to 4 touchdowns. That's what I want back at BYU. That's the kind of quarterback play I want, not what we've gotten recently. All right, so offense, good if unspectacular. And player to watch on offense, this one's tough just because I want to say Chase Roberts because he's a highlight reel, and I also want to say LJ Martin because he has that goal of wanting to play every down every week. I'm going to have to go with Carson Ryan. I know that's kind of a cop-out because I did Keanu Hill last year, and I really thought Keanu Hill was going to pop off. It's just the quarterback wasn't good enough to do so. So I think Carson Ryan is going to be a very key player in this offense to help Bear Bachmeier when things start to get rough come week 4. Until week 4, BYU does not have a scary game. They have Portland State, who's one of the worst teams in FCS this coming year, Stanford, who just lost to Hawaii, and East Carolina, which is in the American Conference, formerly known as the American Athletic Conference. Not very good bottom half of that conference. So the team isn't going to have a real challenge until they head to Boulder, Colorado against Coach Prime and the New Look Buffaloes. So these first 3 weeks are going to be key for Bear Bachmeier and the BYU offense. We'll see what happens. Another quick note on the schedule. Get ready to stay up late. I hope you all have your Diet Cokes. 6 p.m. kickoff against Portland State on ESPN Plus on Saturday. 8:15 p.m. kickoff. And these are Mountain Time, by the way. This is not Eastern Time. Mountain Time kickoff, 8:15 p.m. against Stanford on ESPN. TBD, so to be determined for East Carolina. I think that game is going to be on CBS Sports. Maybe. It might be on ESPN or ESPN Plus. That one's going to be early just because it's on the East Coast. So at least you'll get a break there. It'll probably be late afternoon, though. And then Colorado, 8:15 p.m. on ESPN. West Virginia, 8:30 p.m. on ESPN. So get ready to crack out those Diet Cokes, get them on ice, and get ready for late nights. And then crack out the Diet Cokes again when you have to go to church in the morning, because ESPN continues to think that the Mountain Time Zone is the exact same as the Pacific Time Zone. And they love that Big 12 after dark, so get ready to hear that ad nauseum until you want to throw up. They're going to say it. whether it's the guys in the studio that do the in-game highlights or the guys that are at the stadium calling the game or the sideline reporter. I hate it. It is so annoying. We don't like it here. We really don't. Yes, it's basically the only game on the slate that people want to watch at that time because otherwise it's the Mountain West Conference. And sorry, Aggies fans, but nobody wants to watch that when there's Power 4 football to be played. So it's just annoying. I hate it. Bring me back to the early 2000s where BYU and Utah games would be over by 8 p.m. and both teams would have lit up the other team and it was just a good day. Anywho, let's go to the defense. So the defense, one of the best in the country. They led the country in interceptions. They did not have great sacks. I did bring this up on a social media post the other week where they need sacks. More than anything else, they need more pressure on the quarterback to get him to the ground. And if you take away that game against Colorado, against Shedeur Sanders and Colorado, they had 16 sacks. 16. That's worst at Power 4. So while the defense was incredible in every other facet of the game, sacks are still a big bugaboo for Kalani Sitake ever since he took over. And even before then, with Bronco Mendenhall, other than like Jan Jorgensen and Kyle Van Noy, nobody ever really got to the quarterback under Bronco. So it's been a bugaboo for BYU since Lavelle Edwards retired. And it's really annoying. But if we look at this defense, the second level is going to be key. The second level meaning linebackers, Isaiah Glasker and Jack Kelly. Those two guys burst onto the scene last year. Isaiah Glasker was a walk-on wide receiver, if you can believe that. They flipped him over to linebacker, and now he is an all-Big 12 pick and is a dark horse All-American candidate. And then Jack Kelly is from Weber State, followed Jay Hill a year later, and is the captain of that defense. He is the captain of the defense. He puts everybody where they need to be, and then he flies to the ball. The linebackers led the team in interception and sacks. So there you go. The big question is going to be who's going to replace Harrison Taggart as the third linebacker in Jay Hill's scheme. And right now, the leader in the clubhouse is Siale Ezra, who played a lot of games last year. He did have 5 tackles for loss, and he looked solid when he was in spelling for any of the 3 linebackers, so he's played all 3. So maybe he'll pop off as well because all of the attention is going to be on the other 2 guys. Then up front, a lot of question marks. There's Justin Kirkland, transferred from Oklahoma State, and then obviously Keanu Tanavasa from Utah. Those are 2 big gets for BYU because if they didn't get those guys in the transfer portal, they would not have a defensive line. It would not be any good. So those 2 guys are big gets for BYU, but they also need them to stay healthy. And they also got a transfer from Texas that I shouted out on social media the other week when I was talking about the pass rush woes for BYU. And so Tausili Akana was a highly rated recruit that went to Texas, and he just didn't like the vibe at Texas, and so he transferred out. And then he went to BYU. I think I'm going to spoil my player to watch. He's my player to watch. If he can get consistent pressure on the quarterback without Jay Hill, the defensive coordinator for BYU, feeling the need to send extra players on a blitz, that is going to make BYU's defense elite. It will take them from very good to elite status. So if BYU could just get pressure on the quarterback with just their down linemen, this defense will be insane. And then when we go to the third level, Raider Demouni has been slowly working himself into the starting lineup, and now he is the guy. He is your Daniel Sorensen. If you want to go back further, your Aaron Francisco. Your Nakua brother. He is that guy. He is going to be that good. He is a heat-seeking missile. When balls get thrown over the middle, he stuffs run support very well. He sticks his nose in. He's not afraid to hit people, and he can cover a lot of ground very quickly. So Raider Demouni, the safety, whichever safety they flip him between the 2, he is going to be a stud. And then you have Eddie Robinson and Mo Bamba on the corners. I think people are going to be sleeping on those guys. Sorry, Evan Johnson. I don't know where Eddie Robinson came from. Evan Johnson is the guy's name. Those 2 guys played a lot of snaps last year for BYU's defense. The secondary was oft injured, and so a lot of guys came in and out. So I think this defense is going to be really good. Tanner Wall is going to be like the guy, but Raider Demouni is going to be special. He really is. Just look out for him when it comes to secondary plays. So that's the preview for the defense. Very good defense. If they could get a pass rush, elite defense. Jay Hill, I don't know how BYU is going to lock him up. I think they need to pay him a ton of money and then lock him in his coordinator room and only let him out for game days to be able to keep him around, because I think he is, if he has another defense like he did last year, he's next up for a head coaching gig somewhere in the country. Now, special teams, Will Ferrin is an All-American kicker. Really weird to say that in the state of Utah when it's not a Kyle Whittingham team, but he is. He was perfect for extra points, and then he only missed 3 field goals. And of the 3 field goals he missed, 2 of them were 50-plus. So he is an All-American kicker. You don't need to worry about him. I already talked about Parker Kingston. He is an All-American punt returner. Unfortunately, Keelan Marion left. He is now at Miami, Florida in the ACC. So finding somebody to be the kick returner is going to be key, because Parker Kingston can't do both. That's asking a lot of one guy. And so I think BYU has guys in there that can do it. They just need to, get their nose out in front of everybody else, because it's just a pack of guys right now. And if they can find a kick returner who is even half of what Keelan Marion was last year, because he was an All-American kick returner, the special teams are going to be just that. They're going to be special. So, record. My prediction. Well, let's start with this. The ceiling for BYU is an undefeated season. 12-0, that is the ceiling, just like Utah. The floor for BYU is a low floor. 3 wins. It's a very low floor. The reason I say that is because of the quarterback situation. I wasn't in love with Jake Retzlaff. If Jake Retzlaff were the starting quarterback coming back this year, I would say BYU's floor would still be 3 wins, because he is still the same quarterback that did not win a game in the second half of his first season. He didn't win a game. In fact, he lost a couple. He lost the game against Oklahoma. So that's kind of where I'm at with BYU. Ceiling, undefeated. Floor, 3 wins. For Utah, I said 7-5. For BYU, I'm going to say 6-6, just like my prediction last year. So if you remember last year, nobody had BYU go into a bowl. I was one of the very few that said BYU had the opportunity to go to a bowl. Nobody thought BYU was going to win 11 games. And if somebody said that they thought that, they're lying to you, because I certainly didn't. But I was the most rosy of all predictions for them, saying that they would make a bowl game. This year, I think 6-6 is a good pick, because the schedule doesn't lend itself to BYU being able to roll through anything except for those first 3 to 4 weeks. Everybody is expecting BYU to pretty much be 5-0, maybe even 6-0 when they come home to face off against Utah. Colorado is better than people think. There's a lot of unknown, but I think Colorado is going to be better than a lot of people think. So BYU might lose that game, and I think I'm anticipating him to lose that game. It's a revenge game, too, for Coach Prime. So when we look at the schedule, after Utah, it's a gauntlet. It's at Iowa State. It's at Texas Tech, who just spent millions of dollars rebuilding their roster. And then it's at home against TCU. Just ask Utah how tough TCU is. Then they get a respite at the end of the year where they're at Cincinnati and then at home against Central Florida. So if you look at that schedule, they have 5 gimme wins, maybe 6 if you count Arizona. So that's why I have them at 6-6. I don't know how they're going to perform against a team like Colorado. I don't know. Nobody knows how the rivalry game is going to go against Utah. Last year, Utah didn't have an offense, and then they found one against BYU. That's just what happens. And then Iowa State and Texas Tech are for real. TCU is a wild card. And then Cincinnati and Central Florida should be victories, just based on the fact that BYU is just more talented than them at this moment. So 6-6 for BYU is my prediction. Let me know if I'm wrong. Let me know if you think that Bear Bachmeier is going to be a freshman All-American. BYU is going to go undefeated. Or let me know if you think BYU is going to win more than 6 games. I'd love to hear your reasons why. I'm not going to say you're stupid for saying so. I just love to hear your opinion. And Gifford Pete has done so. there's my listener shout out. A little late in the episode, but Gifford Pete has been commenting on my stuff on social media, and I really appreciate his insight. His insight into Devin Dampier and the University of Utah. I love seeing that. Because he's not a Utah fan, but he respects game, and he sees game with Devin Dampier. So I appreciate him. There's my listener shout out this week, the Spelunker shout out. You get to wear the hard hat with the light on it this week, Gifford. All right. So that's it for BYU Preview. That's it for all of the state of Utah when it comes to college football in FBS. Let me know if I'm wrong. Let me know if I'm right. Let me know if you disagree, agree, or just your thoughts on what's going to happen. Who's your breakout players for each team or players to watch? I'd love to hear that as well. All right. So let's move it on to video games here, and let me talk about the finals. So I made a post yesterday as of me recording this. I do video game Saturdays where I just kind of shout out what's going on in the video game scene, just so that we don't lose touch with that side of things. And I talked about a game called The Finals. Now, if you haven't heard of this game, I'm not surprised. It's not that big of a game, but it should be bigger. And I don't say that lightly because this game is just so much fun. Let me read just the snippet they have on Steam for you. It's Join the Finals, the world-famous, free-to-play, combat-centered game show. Fight alongside your teammates in virtual arenas that you can alter, exploit, and even destroy. Build your own playstyle in this first-person shooter to win escalating tournaments and lasting fame. So, a couple of things about this game. First, there's no bloodshed. When you eliminate an opponent, they burst into coins. And so, that's key, I think. It's not gore. There's nothing over the top here. There's no bloodstains on walls and such, like Rainbow Six Siege, for example. And then this game is unique because it is a game show. Now, there is controversy around this game because they use AI voiceovers, and as somebody who's trying to break into the voiceover scene, that does rub me the wrong way a little bit. But as a gamer, I appreciate it because I don't need to wait for somebody to record a session or a line for it to be introduced into the game. So what the AI does is it's learning constantly. It sounds so much better than it did when it launched, and it adapts to the gameplay. It adapts to what's happening. And you can't do that with a voiceover. You can't do that with a recorded voiceover. And so I appreciate it as a gamer, as a consumer, for something new, for something that keeps the game fresh. As somebody who wants to break into the voiceover scene, I hate it because it just takes a job away. But I get it. I do. I get it. So that's really the controversy around this game. Otherwise, this game is so much fun. It's a first-person shooter, and right now the player count on Steam is not excessively large. It's about 23,000, which puts it number 62 overall as far as how many active players are in a game on Steam. But this game is also on Xbox Live and PlayStation Network, so you can play it there as well. You don't have to play it on PC. And what's even better on PC, you don't need a top-of-the-line modern rig to be able to run this game well. I've been able to run it both on my new one that I built last year and the one that I built 6 years ago. And it runs just fine on both. In fact, it runs great on both while I have Chrome open in another window. And for all of you who don't know, when you have Chrome running, that takes a lot of resources from your computer, from your CPU. And I'm still able to run this game very well. So this game, first-person shooter, there's 3 classes. There's light, heavy, and medium. Obviously, light class is more of your duelist, get to the point first, cause some havoc. Medium is your support-ish class, where they have healing. They have instant revive capability with defibrillators. And then the heavy class is really to hold down the point when you've captured it with shielding, RPGs. I was going to say rocket-propelled grenades. RPGs, dome shields, barricades, mines, like a blitzcrank hook if you've played League of Legends, where you shoot something out, it grabs a person and it pulls them back to you. This game is so much fun, and right now if you Google it, you can see 92% of users have liked the game when you look it up on Google. The reviews on Steam are mostly positive, 77.21%, and that's recovered a bit because in the past it had basically average reviews because a lot of people were angry about the AI stuff. And then during season 2, I think they had a lot of connectivity issues with their servers. They've since patched all that up, and this game is a blast. So this is my PSA to all you gamers out there looking for something different, looking for something that's not Call of Duty, that's not Battlefield, that is a multiplayer shooter. Play the finals. It's 3 versus 3, and then there's 4 teams of 3. Then those get paired down to a second 4 teams of 3 versus each other. Man, that was harder to say than I thought. And then it goes into a final round if your team makes it there of 3 versus 3. And your goal is to capture vaults that have money in them. And if you win that final round, you're the champion of that round. Unlocking things in this is at a brisk pace as well. That's one of my complaints about other games like Fortnite, League of Legends, other free-to-plays where there is a battle pass, there is free content on the battle pass, but you just can never unlock it because it takes way too much time. That's not the case with the finals. You can breeze through. There's a bunch of daily missions and weekly missions for you to do that aren't that difficult to do. And that's coming from a 35-year-old gamer. So I've been able to do a lot of them. I would anticipate you should be able to do a lot of them more quickly than me. So get this game. It's free to play. Download it. Give it a shot. And let me know what you think. But that's the episode this week, everybody. Thank you all so much for listening, and I look forward to next week when I can give you a post-mortem on the first week of football from the Aggies, Utes, and Cougars, and I will see you all then when we spelunk back into the Mad Cave.